Summer 2009. 8 high school seniors, ready to celebrate their graduation, gathered in a remote cabin deep in the woods. This was supposed to be one last perfect night together before life pulled them in different directions, towards separate colleges and new beginnings. The party was already underway when brothers Chris and Ken finally showed up, a bit late, but carrying a mysterious, dusty wooden box. Ken dropped it onto the table with a heavy thud. "Found this at an antique store," he announced, a grin spreading across his face. "You guys have to see this." Inside was a strange, forgotten tabletop game called Ashes of the Last Age. The game board depicted a desolate, ruined world, split into 3 terrifying lands: a frozen wasteland blanketed in nuclear winter, a desert glowing with deadly radiation, and a sprawling city choked by giant, overgrown vines. The game pieces weren't cheap plastic. They were intricately hand-carved figures. The dice were cold, solid metal. "It's like Dungeons and Dragons," Ken laughed, "but post-apocalyptic." Excited by the novelty, everyone began creating their characters. Chris became a rugged wasteland ranger. Jessica, always the techie, chose biohacker. Marcus, the group's natural leader, picked relic knight, and Lila, ever the wild card, became the mutant touched. The mood was light, full of laughter and anticipation. Then, Ken picked up one of the heavy metal dice to make the first roll. The moment it left his hand, the lights in the cabin flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. As the dice clattered across the table, a fierce wind began to roar outside, shaking the cabin to its foundation. And then, everything just vanished. They woke up shivering, standing in snow. But it wasn't the pure white snow they knew. It was grey, gritty. It was ash. The sky above was a permanent, starless black, and the skeletal remains of skyscrapers jutted from the frozen ground like broken teeth. Ken looked down at his own hands in disbelief. They were covered in armor. "Guys," he said, his voice trembling, I think we're our characters." Just then, a cloaked figure emerged from the swirling ash storm. His face was concealed behind a cracked porcelain mask, and his voice was unnervingly calm when he spoke. "I am the gamekeeper. You have entered the game." Chris shook his head, refusing to believe it. "No way! This has to be a dream." The gamekeeper simply pointed down. Burned into the ice beneath their feet was the very same symbol from the game board. "You must complete the quest and cross all 3 lands," the gamekeeper explained. "Finish the game, and you may return home." Ryan laughed, a nervous, shaky sound. "And if we lose?" The gamekeeper tilted his head, a gesture that was somehow more menacing than any threat. "If your health reaches 0, you die here, and your body dies in the world you came from." An icy silence fell over the group. That's when something else moved in the storm. A monstrous creature crawled out of the ash. A horrifying fusion of a wolf and a skeleton, its bones glowing with a sickly radioactive light. It let out a guttural roar and charged straight for them. "Roll the dice!" Marcus screamed. Ken scrambled for the metal die, his fingers fumbling in the snow, and threw it. It landed. A 3. Before anyone could even react, the creature slammed into Ryan, who let out a final piercing scream. For a single, blinding second, the world went white, and they were back in the cabin. Ryan was on the floor, his eyes wide and lifeless. He was dead. And just as quickly, the storm returned, and the frozen wasteland swallowed them whole once more. 7 players remained. The gamekeeper watched from the shadows, his voice a soft, chilling whisper. "The game has begun.